A very interesting week 6 NFL DFS main slate where a little bit difficult to identify who the top quarterbacks for this week are going to be, in part because we don't have guys like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes on this slate, but also because there is some wind impacting the slate in most of the games. So we're going to break down our thoughts on why wind matters, which quarterbacks we like, maybe despite the wind working against them, talk about some game stacks we like, and our top plays for NFL DFS on FanDuel. Welcome on into the Heat Check, a FanDuel Research podcast. My name is JimSannes. I am a managing editor for FanDuel Research, joined here as I am every Tuesday by Brandon Gdula. Find him on X at Gdula13. He is on Blue Sky at Gdula. Check out his work at FanDuel Research, where he is a senior managing editor. Brandon, we are on to week 6. Your face is confusing me already. How you doing today?
How are you doing? Are you okay?
Why? What did I say?
Well, I just happened. No, it's nothing you said. Also, every time we go live, I am looking down, but that's because I'm retweeting that the link is live.
See, I schedule the tweets. I don't have to send it. I do have to send them on Blue Sky and Threads because you can't schedule posts there, I don't think. So I had to press play or press record, press play, tweet. Well, not tweet, but you know what I mean? And then come back over here and try to sound semi-coherent. It's very organized and very, very professional.
So, but you're saying you're good?
I think so. Why?
Because I just saw who the thumbnail player was.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it's Josh Jacobs. If you're not watching YouTube, which you should, shout out YouTube.
Yeah.
And I tend to be lower on Jacobs than others. However, he has the highest touchdown projection in my model for this week. And I was like, well, McCaffrey, his whole team is dead. JT's salary is way up there. We also used him as the cover boy a couple weeks ago. Puka's playing in a gale. A gale storm. I don't know if is it a gale or a gale storm? I don't know. My options got whittled down real fast, unfortunately.
I know it's for anybody who's listened to know that Jim picked Josh Jacobs is telling, but beyond that, the fact that, and it's nothing against Jacobs, honestly, it's just that's where we are on this slate.
Yeah.
It's a lot of tepid likes, and I did some I always like to do my notes on Sunday as games are finishing up. Everything's fresh. I'm seeing the role changes. I'm seeing the usage changes. I always like that Monday morning. We don't do the recap show anymore. It's been a couple of years, but I like to do the salary scroll while things are still fresh in my head before I start to hear names buzzed around and think about the matchups too much. Just hey, who do I want to play?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my workload's a bit different than it used to be whenever we were doing those recap shows, but I had a chance to run through on Monday and do that. And I was like, cool. Not a lot standing out just yet, so we'll wait and see. It feels a little bit like that still, though, of I don't know. There's a lot of issues here for this slate. So I think it's going to be one to break down for the ages, honestly.
You did your dive on Monday. I did my diving in this morning because I was delayed on everything. And I felt the exact same way where it's not a lot of loves on this slate. I do think there are some guys I feel pretty good about, though, depending on how injury news breaks. So we'll break down that, outline the key injuries to monitor. Then we'll dive in to game stacks we like this week. We'll talk about impact of wind. We'll go through what the Packers have done this year, maybe why Josh Jacobs is a cover boy. Then we'll break down our top plays at each position on FanDuel for this week. But first, a reminder to make sure you're subscribed to the FanDuel Research Podcast feed wherever you get your podcasts, because we are here with you every Thursday breaking down the main NFL DFS slate. So check out the FanDuel Research Podcast feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. And of course, this show does stream live on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page at noon Eastern on every Thursday. Of course, you can also find every cover in the spread on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. Minty Betts will join me later on Thursday to break down her thoughts on NFL Week number 6. We already had At Dr. Ed Fang with me on Wednesday, breaking down college football week 7. Riley Thomas talking NFL player props tomorrow, all right here on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. What more could you possibly want? Check us out there. Leave us a thumbs up if you're watching YouTube. We appreciate those of you tuning in there. As always, FanDuel's getting you ready for kickoff with an offer you won't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style, FanDuel has you covered. NFL season is finally here. Only question is, are you ready to play? Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. We kind of discussed this a bit already, but let's go into our slate overview for week number 6. And to me, it comes down to injuries at running back, because I feel like there are some quality plays if we get a couple guys to take an extra week off, and it comes down to dissecting who exactly is a QB1, because I don't know yet. So I'm going to ask you. So Brandon, that's my thoughts this week, is figuring out injuries at running back to decide where to go there, and then deciding what to do with quarterback. What to you stands out for this week 6 main slate?
Yeah, it's never good when there's not a clear QB1. We love running backs on this show, but the clear anchor point of lineups to me is building around a quarterback who I feel as though, I know we joke, there's no floor, historically, mathematically, floor is highest at quarterback. They touch the ball in every play, for the most part. And so whenever you go into a slate, even with 10 games, and you're like, man, I don't know where I'm starting with quarterback, that means inherently that there's not top tier, no-brainer stacks in terms of the passing game. It very often is tied to questions with team offenses. So I'm right there with you. My slate overview, though, is figuring out how I'm going to handle the wind, which, again, we've teased a couple times. We're going to talk about it and why we think it's important, but how we're going to handle the wind in terms of, we like to stack games and we like to have correlated plays. Is this the best week whenever one team might play better than the other? There might not be the traditional back and forth, high octane offensive games scoring 60 plus. Is it you pick and choose the pieces and you got to kind of fit them together from different games, which just, again, like mathematically you're losing like a small percentage points of how connected things are. That stuff just makes me look at this slate and say, we got some figuring out to do over the next 2 hours.
We very much do. And I know a lot of people can groan when weather is discussed because they think that it's overplayed, but like, it's factored into betting markets. And if it's factored into betting markets, it should be factored in for you too. So just give us some time to explain why it matters. And we'll go through that in the trend section later on. Let's start, though, with the key injuries impacting this week 6 NFL DFS main slate. Of course, the big one is with the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson seems like a long shot to play again this week due to a hamstring injury. Defense is still super banged up, even though Kyle Hamilton may be back for this one. We know the Ravens are out of play without Lamar. I don't want to speak for you, but I'm going to speak for you. They're out of play. Does this impact your view of Puka Nacua and the Rams, knowing that we're probably not going to get a lot of pushback from the Ravens in this one?
Yeah, this is just a prime example too. It's, wind is up in this one as well. Probably doesn't matter a ton for Puka's usage in terms of he's still going to get his targets. He's not reliant on just downfield work. But if it depresses scoring expectations, it's going to just change the way that this team scores touchdowns. You could see more Kyron Williams. I know that he's a topic of conversation in terms of should he be sitting out a couple extra plays for Blake Corum, etc. But when you really ask me like Puka and the Rams, I think of, Matthew Stafford against the Ravens, simple, like QB1. There's wind. There's the chance that they're just up sizably at halftime. Matthew Stafford could throw for 208 and 2 touchdowns, and they can still win by 17. It really changes things without that level of pushback. And like I said, I got to figure out which offenses I'm cool going with if I don't necessarily love the other side of the ball, those types of things. So yeah, I'm really low. Or sorry, I don't want to say I'm really low on this game because that's not true.
Yeah.
But imagine this game indoors out in LA with Lamar. It's like, this is the game.
Yeah.
That's how much things change whenever there's these injuries. So yeah, it's hard to want to plug in Puka to a substantial degree with the concerns at a salary of 9,800. There's just, we talk about a lack of wiggle room for like letdowns.
Yep.
It's getting to the point of, he can't just give us like 16. That's like not enough.
Yeah, it's the indoor team playing outdoors. They are dealing with heavy wind, traveling across the country before a flight to London. They're actually going to stay in Baltimore, so they're not flying like immediately after this game. But like, it's a weird travel spot for the Rams too. And then the wind. So I'm fine with Puka. I don't hate it, but like, he's not going to be a priority for me by any means, given all those factors working against him and the Rams in general. Bengals going to start Joe Flacco. It's very confusing to have him stay in the AFC North and stay with an orange team. Like, I keep thinking about, okay, how does Joe Flacco starting impact Quinshon Judkins? Like, wait a minute, he just got traded from the Browns. And I'm like, it's putting my brain in a pretzel and I don't like it. But he goes to the Bengals, be facing the Packers, a team he beat once already this year. Does Flacco alter your interest in Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Chase Brown now that he will start over Jake Browning?
Yeah, I think you can make a case of like, is this an upgrade at quarterback? I think it is, not substantially, but I think at least marginally. I think there's a lot of questions to be asked in terms of how much Joe Flacco is going to stay upright against a really strong pass rush behind this offensive line. What's it going to mean? I just think there's more catchable targets. Yeah. More high leverage targets to the guys who matter from a DFS standpoint. We joke about T. Higgins and his salary never legally being able to go below like 7,000. It was, I believe his salary was 69 last week, and he's down to what?
61.
Like 61 this week. Yeah. I think that does matter. Yeah. I don't think it matters to like now's the time to just completely buy in on this offense against a defense that rates out really well for me across the board. So yeah, it's better. Does it mean that I love this game as a back and forth game? More than I would have.
Correct.
Because I think there's at least a chance of this being somewhat competitive. And maybe I'm just overstating Joe Flacco in 2025, but there's at least enough here. And if they walk out of this game losing by 14 or more, and like T. Higgins is just he's just out there kind of running around, not doing anything, I'd be surprised. Yeah. So something like that, I take a long look at this week. So I'm higher, but where are you?
So like the baseline expectation for me remained pretty much the same, but the variance increased. And that's a good thing because I want more volatility. I want more potential for this game to get stupid in a good way. And I think that Flacco increases the stupid potential, which is really good. And that to me says that I can actually consider Jamar Chase at 88. Like, he's a guy who can have big games with Jake Brown. He can have big games with literally anyone. I think he could do the same with Joe Flacco. So I think that I have to be willing to consider Jamar Chase at $8,800. Higgins, as you mentioned, consideration. I'm not going to get to Chase Brown. Like, they can't run the ball. So don't want to do that. But I do think that it does increase my interest in the Bengals and also makes me feel a bit better about Jacobs as far as like this game maybe being a bit like, he's fine if they win by 30, but like he could be more enticing if they win by 10 instead, because like it could mean that it's more back and forth, which keeps him in there for all 4 quarters. We know they'll sit him for the 4th quarter if they can, and I would like to lower the chances that happens. So volatility in a good way for the Bengals with Flacco in the mix. Chargers had placed Amari Hampton on injured reserve after he suffered an ankle injury last week. You traded me, Hampton, for Drake May in our Dynasty League earlier this year. Drake May now getting his flowers all across the nation as Amari Hampton goes on IR. Good times, good times. Hassan Haskins and Kamani Vidal were the other active players in that game. Also added Nyheim Hines to the practice squad. Any interest for you in these guys? Because I don't really know how it's going to be divvied up between them personally. So I want to get your read on Vidal and Haskins in this setup.
This is, to me, likely shaping up to look like a very, very light version of the Broncos or maybe the Chiefs, where it's just like these guys played a bit, but ultimately the Chiefs are probably better because of the pass rate. I think they're just going to try to throw it a bit. Now, offensive line injuries to the Chargers is complicating things in terms of how much time Justin Herbert will have. Maybe he just runs more because he's getting chased. So there's that angle. I don't know that I'm really interested in the running backs themselves, although I will go out. I believe you asked me about Rico Dowdle last week, and I kind of brushed it off. But by Sunday morning, his betting props on FanDuel Sportsbook were really nice for the salary, and I loaded up. I don't know if we're going to get that for any of these backs, though.
Like Rico was getting work before the injury to Chuba Hubbard, whereas Haskins and Vidal were not. And I think that's the key thing here. Yeah. I always want a running back. Like this didn't work out, but like Trey Benson was getting work before James Conner got hurt. Like that's the setup that I want. We don't get that here. Vidal was on the practice squad. He was active last week, but on the practice squad, they signed to the active roster this week. And then Haskins has been like a special teams guy who gets like some goal line work. I think Vidal is most likely to get the passing game work. Haskins probably going to steal some like goal line work. So I feel like the Chiefs comp is fair. I think that like the Commanders, if the Commanders were not good at running the ball, would be another comp I'd throw out there too, where it's like it's a split and that kind of reduces upside for all these guys. And also like these salaries not as low as what Rico was last week too, which does hurt for sure.
Yeah. So unless things really change and we get a lot of info, I'm just not going to play any of these backs, even in this spot.
I'd agree with that. Even after a mini bye, the 49ers are still super banged up. Brock Purdy, Juwan Jennings, and Ricky Pearsall all missed practice on Wednesday for them. Mac Jones limited, but John Lynch said this morning he should be good to go. That makes you think that all 3 of those guys, Purdy, Pearsall, and Jennings, probably going to sit. We'll see on them. Other side of that game, Bucks also expect to be without Bucky Irving again. Missed practice Wednesday, as did Mike Evans. Chris Godwin didn't practice with a fibula injury, though I've not heard any alarm bells on him, so I think he'll be good to go. We'll talk about that game in the bookmaker section. The Patriots 3-man backfield is now down to 2. Antonio Gibson tore his ACL and is done for the year. Problem is that Ramondre Stevenson keeps fumbling, and Trevion Henderson hasn't earned consistent snaps yet. So, Brandon, are you willing to roll the dice on either of those 2 backs? They face the Saints this week.
Well, I don't even know if it's a problem. They said it's not a problem yet. For Ramondre, the salaries are below 6,000 with Trevion at 58, Stevenson's salary at 57. I still think that there are enough good backs on the board. Like running back's not really the issue.
Yeah.
And with wind being up, scoring could be down, but rushing volume could be up. I don't know if it's a week where I'm looking to like save a lot of salary at running back. I think I'm trying to find ways to save salary at receiver and tight end to get allocation to like the top of the running back board. And Trevion could break off a long rush. Ramondre, I know people are like tired of him, but they're still using him. I think he's a good football player, excluding the fumbles. Like
there's a reason his snap rates have remained high despite the fumbles.
Yeah. And when you get that, like we get like a somewhat of a 50-50 split with some of the higher leverage work going kind of either way. I don't know if it's enough to want to get there. So I'm probably just going to sit it out. This is more of a, if you need someone in season long, like you can play either one, and just hope for the best. But DFS, this probably ain't the week for it.
I'd agree with that. I'd be more willing to swipe at Henderson, just kind of like, if someone does like have a huge game, I feel like he's the guy more likely to, but like I'm not probably going to do it because we've got likely Rico Dowdle, likely Rashad White with like high 6,000 range salaries. I'll take that for sure. Jags lost tight end Brenton Strange, who was on IR with a hip injury. Strange was earning a lot of targets. So does this change your interest in Brian Thomas or Travis Hunter with no Strange for the Jags? They take on the Seahawks.
I think this game's really interesting because I'm not like fully sold on the Jaguars, despite what they've put on paper. I really like the other side of this game.
Same.
And I don't know. I feel as though Jacksonville's not going to be able to run the ball, and they're going to throw, and Trevor Lawrence is going to make some plays. But I think if Jacksonville wins, it's going to be more from like a 20-17 kind of scenario where it's fine.
Yeah.
We're not getting a lot of salary regression from Brian Thomas despite the start. And yeah, he had the one nice play down the sideline. The true yardage upside hasn't been there. Even if it's like, you know what, every now and then he's popping off. It's like he got to 80. What do you have, a 33-yarder on the final drive? But you can't take that. Like, you can't just cherry pick and take that away. But I mean, without that, he's been in like the 40 to 50 yard range, basically.
Yeah.
That's not a great way to project forward, but against this defense, even at home off of a short week, I'm not saying it's a true letdown spot.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I want to get there. However, with that said, if we don't love quarterback and we're looking at somebody who might run, this game might be really competitive. Trevor Lawrence's salary is $6,700. I don't know the last time I've played Trevor Lawrence in DFS. I don't really want to get there. Like at least probably, I guess, 2023, but
I guess I played him early last year because I was like, oh, they got Brian Thomas Jr. They added the receivers and just did nothing. Then I gave up real fast. So yeah, I do think it's kind of a letdown spot. I hope it is because I bet the Seahawks money line. So I would love for it to be a letdown spot. If Lawrence is going to run more, I'm receptive to it. I just haven't seen enough to like think that's like that second touchdown. Obviously, was not a design run. I don't think.
Right.
Like
I don't think anybody.
That's like a Ben Johnson, like, having some fun at 3:00 in the morning kind of thing. I don't think that was intentional. But like, yeah, I'm skeptical and I'm not super high there. I took the under in that game too. So personally, I'm okay with being a bit lower on it. I'm willing to take some stabs, but I want to take stabs elsewhere, potentially on the Cowboys and Panthers. Cowboys still did not have CeeDee Lamb or Kevontae Turpin at practice on Wednesday. I'm expecting both to miss this game. Miles Sanders, though, was able to log a limited session with his knee and ankle injuries. Other side of that game, Chuba Hubbard missed practice again Wednesday with a calf issue. Jalen Coker had his practice window opened, and he practiced in full, which was surprising to me. So kind of expecting Coker to play, kind of expecting Chubbard. I did that last year too. Hubbard to sit. We'll talk about that game in the bookmaker section. Jaylen Warren got in a full practice Wednesday for the Steelers. He had missed week 4, but had their bye to rest up. Calvin Austin did not practice with a shoulder injury. He is expected to sit. Any interest in Jaylen Warren at home against the Browns?
Tough one for the Browns here, coming back from overseas to play.
And they were on the road the week before that too. Like, I know it's Detroit. Detroit to Cleveland's very short, but they went Cleveland to Detroit, Detroit to Cleveland, Cleveland to London, London to Cleveland, Cleveland to Pittsburgh. I know, again, it's not long flights, but it's still not, they haven't been at home in a bit.
Yeah. You get this Steelers defense has had a lot of issues. They're coming off of a bye. They got a week of game tape on Dylan Gabriel, who I thought was fine. Didn't do anything outrageous one way or the other. I don't think he was asked to do anything outrageous one way or the other. They got to be able to limit that. They should play from ahead. You would think that they could just lean on the ground game, but I don't know. What does the Kenneth Gainwell game have to do with all of this? Do they just kind of split things too much? I don't really want to bank on. Like this is one of the ugliest games of the year so far to me in terms of offensive expectations. So I'm not looking to save a ton of salary in this spot.
Yeah.
Or on this slate at running back. So I don't know if it does enough for me. So I'm going to say just this, what I'm getting at is like, this should be such a good spot for the Steelers offense.
Right.
And maybe it is.
Right.
But I couldn't be less interested.
I agree with you there. I think there are better options to save salary this week than Warren. Alec Pierce got into full practice Wednesday for the Colts. Had a setback last week as he recovered from a concussion. Didn't play then, but should be back for this one. Other side, Kyler Murray didn't practice Wednesday due to a foot injury he suffered in week 5. Kyler was pretty vague about whether he would play this week, which is not a great sign. I think there's a pretty real chance he sits, in which case Jacoby Brissett would play. We'll talk about that game in the bookmaker section. Raiders tight end Brock Bowers missed practice Wednesday with his knee injury. He needs rest to heal it, and he sat out week number 5. Michael Mayer did practice in full, though, trying to come back from a concussion there. If Bowers cannot go, how do you view the Raiders at home against the Titans?
It's another spot I want to like. I don't love it. I'm out on Jacoby finally, and so this feels like it's a spot where he gets 17
It's very
targets.
liberating to be like, okay, cool, I can ignore this now.
Like, I know you were out earlier than I was, but
I was back in when Bowers got ruled out. I used him last week at times, and I regretted that.
Yeah. I mean, 6 targets, 32 yards. He's not been a massive yardage upside guy without the heavy volume, but you would think like the 10 targets for 97 in the opener, like, oh, just more of that and score. He hasn't scored yet through the air. So salary hasn't changed enough at 6,000. The most interest I have here clearly would be Ashton Genty. Salary's 8,000. He's getting up there in terms of who he's salaried against and near. And there might be teams that I believe in more offensively, even in this matchup. So Genty, I'm fine with, but I'm not loving, like, nobody's jumping off the page here. Where are you with this offense?
It's just Genty. And I agree with you where the salary's getting up there. There's higher expectations elsewhere, but I'm receptive to Genty and probably will use him, but won't be a priority play for me either, despite the spot for them. All right, let's dig in now to the games we're looking to stack for week number 6 and begin things with the highest total on the main slate. That is the Dallas Cowboys taking on I was making sure I didn't miss any injuries. I did not. Okay, because I skipped one last week. The Dallas Cowboys taking on the Carolina Panthers. Total 49.5. Cowboys favored by 3 in this one. It was 3.5 earlier on this week. Still pretty heavy, 3 at -120, but 3 regardless. Cowboys feasted last week, even though CeeDee Lamb, they were missing 4 of their 5 offensive line starters. Both their tackles did get in limited sessions on Wednesday. So I think they'll probably go expecting no CeeDee Lamb, expecting no Chuba Hubbard. What's your interest level in stacking this one? Cowboys at Panthers.
This is an indoor team going outdoors in wind. But this team was just outdoors and looked pretty good.
Yep.
Carolina's scrappy enough. I don't love their offense still.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Rico Dowdle revenge game.
It is.
They could try to milk the clock a bit. If they can run on the Cowboys, which they should probably be able to do a little bit. Like Dak's in the conversation for the top QB. It's a pretty long tier. And again, we don't have a QB1 yet. So with that in mind, I want to be here. I don't want to force it with too many bringbacks from the other side, because to be honest, I'm just not seeing enough to like Tedero McMillan. I think he's a great football player. He's going to get there eventually, but are they really taking advantage of him the best way that they could right now? Seems like Bryce Young's, I don't know what his ADOT is. Doesn't feel like he's really playing too aggressively though, which is fine. Just
schedule adjusted ADOT is 7, which is below average.
Yeah, it's got to be below average. Is it scaled to league average then?
No.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
So it's probably like 7.7 or so.
Yeah.
Usually
7.67. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the counterpoint is, hey, they just score points and throw them the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like I can just sit back and trust that though. So Dowdle, I'm cool with.
Yeah,
assuming there's no
he's a priority if there's no Chuba,
yeah.
right? Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and with Chuba, I could see the case for still kind of trying to get here. I would probably just sit that one out though.
Agreed.
Yep. I think Dowdle earned enough work to get on that, to eat into Chuba's workload. I don't think that they would bring back Chuba Hubbard and just not play him.
Yeah.
The franchise is clearly invested in him. So we'll talk more about the Cowboys. It's clearly an easier conversation to have. I don't want to force bringbacks this week.
Yeah, and I don't feel the need to because Tet's salary is pretty high at 66. That's I think a little bit higher maybe than it should be, just because of the offensive upside. Kind of like you were saying, Bryce is not lighting it up efficiency wise. His ADOT's not super high, so I'm okay being a bit lower on Tet, but I do like Rico as an option there. And one of the reasons I like Rico is the Panthers are actually getting healthy. Not just the fact that they got Coker back at practice, but also Jatavian Sanders. So that may increase the odds they keep this game a little shootouty, which is enticing. I took the under in this game, so I agree with your overall thoughts on it. But there are at least paths because the Panthers are getting healthier there. With the Cowboys, it's super obvious where you want to go. You want to go Javonte Williams 78. You want to go to George Pickens 75, and Jake Ferguson 7,000 salary is a little high, but I understand it. I get it because his workload's been really good since CeeDee Lamb got hurt. With Javonte, we're up to a 5-game sample now. And I just got to say, yeah, man, I was wrong. He's playing really well. This run game is sick, even though they have a bunch of dudes who are missing. Javonte just keeps on playing really well. So mea culpa, 105 yards in scrimmage per game this year for Javonte. That's awesome. So willing to pay 78 for him. Think that's totally fine. And then with Pickens, I know last week he kind of needed a bailout touchdown at the end, but that was because I think they basically said it was because, hey, we knew that he'd be seeing Sauce Gardner, wanted a game plan around that. So we schemed up Ryan Flournoy, a lot of targets there. And it's okay, they're probably going to back to Pickens in this one. And that's enticing because his overall workload without Lamb has been very good. We know the red zone role is good, gets downfield targets. So I feel good about Javonte, feel good about Pickens. When you consider Dak in that kind of QB1 tier, just because, again, he's proved he can do it outdoors with all these guys missing. So I'm pretty into the Cowboys. Very okay with Rico. Rico's a priority play if there's no Chuba. And so I agree they don't want to force the secondary Panthers, but I'm cool with all that stuff personally.
Yeah, I don't think we need to overthink this one.
Yeah.
Ferguson's yardage is fine for tight end. I think he's 5th, 6th in yards per game right now. 6th so far.
Yeah.
At the position. He's got a lot of touchdown equity whenever this team's going to score in games without CeeDee Lamb. He's at a 28% red zone target share. Same as Pickens. Pickens at 44% of the money targets. So whenever he's within the 10 or in the end zone at the time he's targeted. So I think it's not really a bounce back spot for Pickens because he was fine. They clearly didn't, as you said, they didn't force him the ball, which, makes sense. But I don't know if anybody's looking at that and saying, oh man, clearly we're going to point chase with George Pickens. We don't have that. So honestly, this could be if I play Dak, I don't know. Do you go Dak, Javonte, Pickens, and Ferguson?
I'd probably go 3 or 2. I'd go 2 of the 3. Just because Ferguson is a little touchdown dependent. A lot of Pickens appeal is touchdowns. So if it were more yardage based, I'd be cool with going all 4. But
yeah, but they're getting such good leverage in the red zone and with those money targets. 50%. So in 3 games without CeeDee Lamb, basically they're accounting for 50% of the targets. It's very, very much a light version of the Rams, but
sure.
I could see that going for 4 touchdowns, 3 of which go between those 2 receivers and Javon. If you think that this game is great, it's probably not because. Well, I guess it could be because Javonte just scores 3 times, 4 times, but it's not because I don't think that the Flournoy stuff is going to stick around long term. I think it was matchup based. So
Yep. I agree with that.
I think this is one of the offenses I'm higher on, which is very easy to say.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is if I land on Dak as the best play of the week, if the wind is kind of okay by Sunday, do I also play Javonte with him and just try to get access to all the points?
I'm cool with that personally. You get mostly yardage too, which is fun.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it. And overall, do like this game. Probably one of the more fun games in the slate. One game that might be a little bit more fun is the 49ers taking on the Buccaneers. That game is in Tampa. Right now, FanDuel Sportsbook, Bucs favored by 3. Total in this game is at 47.5. So high total, tight spread. Problem is the Niners are still super banged up. I'm again expecting there to be no Purdy, Pearsall, or Jennings here. Likely no Evans or Bucky on the Buccaneers side, but they had a shootout last week without both those guys. So both teams have key injuries, but we likely know where the ball is going on both sides too. So how do you feel about stacking Bucs against the Niners?
Yeah, this is going to be probably in the composite, like a 1.5 QB game.
No.
No?
I'm not.
What do you see?
Mac is 75. That's too high for me.
I don't know. What's the difference at this rate?
I mean,
would you use Purdy?
Like I'd use Purdy because I used Purdy earlier this year when his salary was in the 6,000 range.
Yeah.
But I don't want to use a quarterback I think is not as good when his receivers are banged up when he's on the road at $7,500.
I don't know. This one does have I think some potential to be a letdown. Tampa Bay's first half offense is not great. I don't know how sticky that's going to be long term. They've done a lot of the bailout stuff in the second half when Baker Mayfield just gets going. So maybe this is another one where, hey, 49ers are up 14-3 at halftime and there's not a whole lot that happens in the second half. I could see that being a pretty realistic possibility where they play keep away and are just able to do it because of the game plan. I respect this franchise a ton to be able to do that. So it's not as easy to kind of sit back and say, like, this is the best game, or like I have enough fear with this one. So maybe I'm overthinking that, but I'm not totally sold on it.
What's leading to the fear? Like, what's the big thing for you?
That I think the 49ers being as injured as they are with some extra, potential here, extra like planning.
Yeah.
In terms of their rest, that they find ways to extend drives and depress play volume, and that the Tampa Bay offense might be a little bit smoke and mirrors because their numbers in the first half are average-ish. And then in the second half, Baker Mayfield kind of makes them look like a great offense. And it might be too little too late where they're playing catch up and they don't have enough drives to sort of overcome it. So that's how I see this game being subpar. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen.
Right.
But that's enough for me to say, you know what? That Dallas offense looks like it's got a little more potential to it than either of these two.
And so you prefer Dallas, Carolina over stacking this one?
Well, the problem comes in is there's one Panther that I feel good with.
Sure.
When I'm stacking this game, I'm assuming that it's good.
Yeah.
And in those realities where this game has none of the issues that I was worried about, or even if Tampa's offense comes out a little slow, but then we get Baker Mayfield just throwing it to Emeka Ibuka, who's just overperforming his touchdown expectations like crazy because Mike Evans is out. So someone has to do it for the Buccaneers, just sort of wildly over or underperform touchdown expectations. But I think this game's more stackable.
Yeah.
But it also has, I think what you said earlier of kind of increasing the volatility and the range of outcomes for these games. I feel like this one has a wider range of outcomes than Dallas and Carolina. I don't know how Dallas and Carolina scores like under 30. This one, I feel like it could score. Also, let's say under 40. I think this one's much more likely to score under 40, but it's also probably more likely to be like to have more names in the optimal FanDuel lineup at the end of the night than the first game.
I think that makes sense too, because like, again, we know where the ball is going here, and that's intriguing. Let's talk through Baker Mayfield. The salary's $8,200. I think that he's in like firmly in the discussion for QB1, and he might be QB1 because again, no matter how many playmakers you take away from this team, he keeps getting the job done. I don't know how. Like, it's absurd. They take away his OC every year because he gets him a head coaching job. They take away, he has always like 16 receivers who are out. They take away offensive linemen, and Baker just comes through. But also, the running is still there. I know he's been banged up, but he's still running more than he did in the past. He's not scored a rushing touchdown yet this year. I think is probably due for some regression there at some point as well, because shaken Baker Mayfield is legit. He also was not on the injury report at all on Wednesday for the first time in a couple weeks. So I think the health is there. So when we're talking Baker versus Dak, I prefer Baker. Is Baker a firm one for you? Is he in that QB1 discussion for you? How are you feeling about him specifically?
Yeah, he's in that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But at a certain point, you take away all those options. The big win last week, I'm not saying that it's a letdown spot, but I have enough concerns that I can't feel. Who do you think is more limited here in a whenever the other team does what they want to do? Do you think that Carolina limits Dak, or the Niners find a way to kind of limit Baker?
Baker's at home. His team is actually healthier than Dak's somehow, even though
I guess
they're beat up.
Yeah.
So that'd be my thing, is like, I give the slight edge to Baker. I think it's a fair question. I think it's like a 60-40 split.
Okay.
But it's close. I would give Baker the slight edge.
I think it's close with the home, despite everything I'm saying. Like, I'm just skeptical by nature, and I want to point out all the flaws and see where I am still. I still think Baker's a strong play. He very easily could be just my QB1. I play him in my head-to-head against you, kind of go from there. He's got stack candidates. We have a running back we can play with him. I just got to nitpick it. Sure. Because otherwise there's nobody that you have to nitpick everybody, because nobody's flawless this week when it comes to the quarterbacks. So I got to go through the issues with Baker and then go from there. So I like Baker. I'd probably lean Baker over Dak despite everything I said, but it's pretty close.
I think lean is the right word for me too. I agree with that as well. So let's talk about the running backs here. Christian McCaffrey's salary is $9,500. Rachaad White is $68. Again, assuming no Bucky Irving for this game. McCaffrey is probably not going to get a lot of rushing yardage in this game, because the Buccaneers under Todd Bowles have always been amazing at stopping the run. I'm not sure how much it matters, because like his receiving work is insane. Like, I think entering last week, he was like the wide receiver 7 based on his like passing game work. And then he went for 882 and 1 in that game last week. No rushing touchdowns yet this year. I think by your numbers, he's still due for a positive touchdown regression, even though he's scored 3 times and has no rushing touchdowns, or it has 3 receiving touchdowns so far this year. So like, it's not a good matchup, but I don't think it matters for McCaffrey. And then for Rachaad White, again, if there's no Bucky, his workload is really good. 81% snap rate in that game last week. Got some passing game work. Better matchup at home this time too, I think. So I think both these guys are like, at worst, fringe core plays. I think that Rachaad White is a core play. McCaffrey a fringe core play. How do you settle in on these two guys?
Yeah, I echo it enough where I'm not even going to bother laying in too much, but I have McCaffrey at 6.2 expected touchdowns. He scored 3 times. It is Jonathan Taylor overtook him on the leaderboard at 6.4 expected touchdowns.
Yeah.
JT scored 7 times, so he's a plus 0.6. McCaffrey's a minus 3.2. George Pickens, 4.8 versus 5, so very close there. Javonte, 4.5 versus 6, so a little bit of an overperformer, but for the most part, like, these do a good job long term, and we're probably due for a 2 touchdown game for McCaffrey. And I'd like to be there. We're not buying low because the salary's there, because the yardage is just so good. The receiving work adds up so quickly. So I like him a ton. Rachaad White going to be an easy plug and play with the right injury news, of course. And so, yeah, this is the type of game, though, too, where I would stack the running backs together.
And I stack the running backs with their quarterbacks. Like I'm not going to use Mac Jones, but if I did, McCaffrey is obviously an option with Mac Jones there too. Talking about the receivers, Emeka Ibuka's salary is up to $8,100. He keeps outperforming for as far as like touchdowns go, but he's also getting a lot of deep work, which I love. He has had 3+ deep targets in every single game so far this year. He's had 4 each of the past 2 games, and the yardage is finally there as well. Not there initially, it is there now. Like, still, it's just a 23% target share this year, which is not amazing for this salary. So, like, he can't be a core play in my eyes, but I do like him. He's just great. And then Chris Godwin's salary, 54. Again, didn't practice Wednesday due to a fibula injury. Sounds like it's kind of like rest and recovery from his offseason stuff. And he hasn't produced yet this year, but the volume has been fine. So I do like Godwin, 54, one of my favorite lower salaried receivers this week. Willing to pay for Ibuka in tournaments. Will not get there in cash games. Let's talk about the Bucks first. What's your read on Godwin and Ibuka this week?
Yeah, Ibuka, clearly overperforming from a touchdown standpoint with his 5 scores, but his money target share is great. The last 2 games with Godwin back, 60% of them going his way, 26% target per route rate. Elite is like 30%, average-ish is 20%. So he's in the middle there toward the elite number, which really helps out with Godwin at 23.3%. So there's still enough there for both of these guys. I really wish this were an obvious, let's play Chris Godwin, but something doesn't seem right. He had a ton of downfield work his first game back. The volume last week, if memory serves, was depressed, but like still on a per target basis over a 2-game sample, which I'm willing to trust, is, well above average. So I don't want to write him off.
Yeah.
He might be, I don't know, getting like vibes of Jalen Waddle in years past of like, well, clearly he's a good enough football player. He's getting this good per route usage.
Yeah.
We just keep playing him, and it's like, well, he gets you 7.3 points. And it's like, well, there goes that lineup in terms of a high-end expectation. So I don't know what the splash play potential is at this rate. He's at 0.87 yards per route run. So again, and a lot of that's from just subpar connections on downfield work in his first game back. I would love to sit here and say, like, yeah, Chris Godwin's a core play, but I have to point out the concerns. Ibuka, more likely to get there in tournaments than Godwin, probably from a sheer high-end upside standpoint, because the yardage is there for him too.
I don't want to write off Godwin yet, and you're not doing this, to be clear.
Right.
I don't want to write him off yet because it's a 2-game sample. Faced Quinyon Mitchell in one of those games. He's had some tough matchups, and I want to be receptive to him. But I also agree with you where it's good to be skeptical. I couldn't get there in a cash game with him either. I do like him for tournaments just because the salary is so low, and I love this game. But I think it's fair to point out those things and keep that in mind. As far as the Niners guys go, again, I'm not sure on Pearsall and Jennings. I knew they wouldn't play last week. I thought they'd play this week, but then they didn't practice Wednesday, which is always a concern for guys who missed the previous game and played on Thursday. If they don't go, Kendrick Bourne had 11 targets in that game against the Rams, my arch nemesis. One of those was downfield. He's not allowed to go downfield. And one was in the red zone. Or was it? Yeah, one deep target, one in the red zone. But like, he's going to get volume because no one else will. So if both Jennings and Pearsall sit, I'll use Kendrick Bourne. 57. If one of Pearsall or Jennings plays, I'll use those guys. If both of them play, I'd use both those guys. That's fine. So I want to use whoever plays here. I don't know who it's going to be, but I want to use these receivers. How do you feel about the Niners receivers?
Yeah, I think you laid it out well. For Bourne, really efficient on a per route basis, but 28% target per route rate, so just under the elite cutoff there. For him last week, I'll just also shout out Jake Tonjes, if it's a very similar personnel as to what we had Thursday Night Football, week 5. 11 targets for him, just 41 yards, but a 31% target per route rate. He scored 3 times this year. If you think this game's good, then you think that this team's moving the ball. They're involved in the red zone. And we'll talk more about tight end later as we do the salary scroll, but I think you do a lot worse than someone who, like, not many tight ends get per route usage like that. So I think it's enticing in those situations where you think this game's good. which we generally are because we're talking about it here in this section. So to me, I don't want to let out Tonjes, but if there's no Pearsall, there's no Jennings. Is Bourne like a cash game consideration for you?
I hope not. I don't want to say no, just I'm not sure how things will break elsewhere. But like, I would not feel good enough to like want to use him in a cash game lineup personally. I would be okay with him in tournaments. I'd use him in game stacks, but I would prefer not to get there in cash games.
Let's say you have to play one. You got 5,700 left. You need a third receiver for your lineup. There's no Pearsall. There's no Jennings. Are you playing Kendrick Bourne or Chris Godwin?
I'm probably playing Chris Godwin there, I think. But it's not a definitive.
Yeah, it's a like you don't have to play one of those two. I'm just saying.
Right.
It's a way to test kind of like
Bourne would be good for that tier if he were the Lone Ranger in that offense.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. Okay. Let's talk about our third game here of the week. That is one that could get pretty messy depending on how things break from an injury perspective for this week. That is the Cardinals at the Colts. Once again, a high total here, down to 46.5 off the Kyler news. Colts are favored by 7 now. Their implied total is still very high for this game. Should get Alec Pierce back after he practiced in full on Wednesday. But again, big injury question here is Kyler Murray. Did not practice on Wednesday with a foot injury. I think there is a very much non-zero chance he does not play. I accept the Colts offense as being good, but are you willing to trust any Cardinals on the other side here?
I shouldn't have trusted the Cardinals last week.
Yeah. My survivor pick was stupid, and that's on me. I must take accountability for my sins. That's my fault. But also, dang it. Come on, guys.
Yeah. Like, I think you can look at this of one of two ways. One is they still almost covered. Like,
should have covered. Yeah.
Which is crazy because they lost. They almost covered. If Amari DiMercado holds onto that ball,
or if they don't fumble the interception later, if one of those two things does not happen, they cover.
But I'm saying if he doesn't fumble by just letting go of the ball, we could be having a very different conversation here. Like this could be hey, the Cardinals got back on track. They took care of business, beat the Titans by 30 or whatever they were trending toward. Because I think that really fundamentally changed the whole situation. They had the sideline issue. That stuff's a problem. So now it's razor thin margin of, is this team like not good vibes right now, or hey, they lost 2 in a row and then got back on it, and there's a huge game for them to prove that they can beat, really for it to be like, are either of these two teams really good? Can they beat other sort of borderline teams? Now it's like, are the Colts going to just steamroll a team that's having issues? Right. That's my thing. So whenever you're asking me, do I trust the Cardinals? No, you can never really trust
the answer should always be no. You're right. Yes.
Especially now. I don't like, the reason I laid all that out is I don't think it's an overreaction to say, man, they punted that game away late. You can't trust this team anymore. It's frankly years of this where the efficiency is sort of middling and they never get over the hump. You can't bank on even Trey McBride to score because they won't throw him the ball in the red zone. They won't throw Marvin Harrison 12 targets. Like, what are we doing? Yeah. He had the nice game. I'm pretty sure I saw a quote that the OC
he did
apologize. Yeah. Like, you can't go from Thursday night, a mini breakout for this guy you invested all this draft capital in, and
have him look really good in the first half,
and then just be like, you know what, how is that not number one, especially whenever you're having running back issues?
Right.
Like,
exactly.
So I don't think it's outrageous to just say, yeah, how do you play any Cardinals with any semblance of confidence? The bigger question to me is like, is this another situation where the Colts go out and win like 42-13?
It depends on if Kyler plays. Because if it's Jacoby Brissett, they very well could, because you add in a backup quarterback to a team with bad vibes. That's nightmare scenario. So I think that'd be a concern there. Honestly, though, it wouldn't matter a ton for me because like JT has set out the fourth quarter in multiple games this year, and he has still had like amazing production. Now, that was when his salary was not 10-2. But if I'm going to pay 10-2 for a back, I want there to be pushback on the opposing team. I want him out there for all four quarters. Not a guarantee right now, but like it's close enough. So personally, it's not going to worry me on Jonathan Taylor. It's going to lower me on Michael Pittman, who I've been more receptive to this year, but like still I'm not enamored with. More receptive to, well, him specifically. Probably not going to get to Daniel Jones because the running has not been there, which is a little bit annoying. But I love Tyler Warren at 68. Really on board with JT. Prefer McCaffrey among the studs. Probably prefer Josh Jacobs too, but like still want to make sure I get enough Jonathan Taylor in the mix to benefit if he does well. But it's a bad spot for the Cardinals, and I really don't want to be super enthused there.
I think I'd prefer in a vacuum. I'd prefer JT. I almost called him Justin Thomas. Because the paths to his underperforming is that they win by too much too soon.
Sure.
But he's such a big part of this offense that he's probably getting there.
Right.
The Bucs could throw everything they have at McCaffrey and limit him to like 100 yards and no touchdowns.
Yeah.
I don't know if Jonathan Taylor's just not going to be out there unless it's like, hey, man, we scored on defense and had a, we get Alec Pierce back and he scores 280 yarders because he's the man. But
he is.
I'd feel safer with Jonathan Taylor
than
McCaffrey.
Safer, yes. I like McCaffrey still a bit more for tournaments, though.
I agree. I get that.
Yeah, cool.
But I wanted to at least lay that out there.
Michael Carter, 61, had a pretty good role last week. Honestly, better than I expected. Played more than half the snaps, 18 carries, 5 targets. It's the offensive infrastructure, though, because they were at home against the Titans last week and had a big lead. This time they are 7-point dogs, and his quarterback is banged up. So I don't really want to chase Michael Carter, 61. What about you?
It's a similar like the Patriots backs where it's like, hey, you need someone season long? Great. You picked up like the hot waiver wire guy.
Yeah.
That's fine. DFS, the true ceiling, I don't know if it's there. So to me, I'm probably okay missing out.
So let's talk about the tight ends then. We got a question on YouTube from Robert asking if we should buy the dip on Trey McBride at 64. He asked versus Ferguson. I'd probably spin that towards Tyler Warren, though. I prefer Warren in this game. Sorry, $6,800 over McBride at 64. Would you agree with that?
Is it specifically Warren versus McBride?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can toss Ferguson in there too. Why not?
I mean, I prefer Warren. The Trey McBride stuff is kind of more of the same in a way.
Yeah.
He's such a good football player, but he's still got I know he scored and we all look at that. He's allowed to score this year and it's just kind of whatever. But he's at a 27% target share, which should be awesome. He's getting targeted on 28% of his routes, which should be great. But he's at 1.81 yards per route run, which is a little not where you want it. I understand the concept of buying low because the salary is down, but I would say it's more buying at more of a fair number, honestly.
Especially with the quarterback situation. That's a key thing for me too.
And if Kyler's dealing with a foot,
right.
You're looking at this offense not performing how it typically would. He's not extending plays like he can. He's not picking up that extra first down. They might punt it one or two extra punts because he can't get there on a third down is massive.
Correct.
And then you're looking at Kyler just as a passer in a sense. Now, if he's full by Friday, they're like, yeah, he's good to go. That changes stuff.
Sure.
But if we're going into this, and I guess I'll flip it back to you. We get a backup quarterback. Do you think McBride just gets peppered? Do you think they're smart enough to kind of just make that happen?
I don't even care because it'd kind of be more of the same, wouldn't it? Like his target share can't go up that much. So
that's the thing. I mean, he's been at 23.3% or higher in all 5 games.
Yeah.
I would imagine no other, don't quote me on this, but like, I don't know if any other tight ends can say that they've had at least a 23% share in every game.
Like McBride goes to the shadow realm in the red zone versus Tyler Warren gets like wildcat snaps, which it's not fluky. He did that in college too. Like he tried to throw a touchdown pass last week. Apparently he's lefty. I didn't know that. Like
go watch the tape.
Yeah, I know. Moron. Like I watched a lot of Penn State games last year and still didn't know this anyway. But he is a guy they want to have the football in his hands. And that matters so much to me. Like I know it's a bit about me liking guys who get red zone rush attempts, but like it's a thing for a reason. Like that boosts his touchdown expectation a non-negligible amount. He gets decent. He's had 70 plus yards in 3 games this year. That's awesome. So I think Warren
he leads tight ends in yards per game.
Yeah, I think it's a tight end 1 this week too on the main slate. I think he's above McBride. He's above Ferguson. I think he's a tight end 1. It's him versus Hunter Henry for me as a tight end 1 this week. But I prefer Warren personally.
Yeah, Warren at home indoors against with a really high implied team total, second best on the board. I don't think you overcomplicate that one.
Nope.
So again, to sort of sum it up, I understand like with McBride, but I don't know if we're buying low. I think it's like his salaries come down to how his usage says he should be salaried.
Yep, I'd agree with that too, which is why I prefer Warren. So we're on the same page there. Let's move now to our trends discussion for week number 6 and talk about a topic that we've talked about a lot on the show over the course of the years, and that is the impact that wind can play in NFL DFS. I know some people overvalue it. I do not think the majority of NFL DFS players do. I've done studies in the past on like people over roster players who are playing in high wind. So it's an important thing. You dug into the data to see the impact that wind has on scoring in the NFL. What'd you find when you looked at those numbers?
Yeah, I wanted to keep it simple because I think sometimes in some of the trends that I try to do, it's a lot of numbers and it's a little bit tricky to kind of see what I'm seeing because I'm looking at the data points and it makes sense to me as I'm going through stuff. So I try to just look at scoring. Because I think it's relevant. And we're not looking at a ton of games. It's not like, hey, man, there's 4 games with wins of 20 plus. The impact of wind is felt probably before people realize it. I notice it more. I mean, it just kind of is like linear almost in a sense. But once you get above 10 or at 10 to keep things simple, I think you need to like take a look at stuff. So since 2019, according to NumberFire's database, games with wind speeds between 10 and 19 miles per hour. So I'm not even looking at those like there's a couple games in the 20s and 30s, and that's bogging things down. Those games have averaged 43 points per game. They've gone over at a 40.9%. So 41% of those games have gone over their betting total. So that accounts for like, hey, you know what? If that's factored in, there's probably still not enough of a reaction to games with double-digit wind speeds. And again, this is factoring out those, heavy wind games of 20 plus. By comparison, games with wind speeds of 10 or under 10 specifically, for the semantics out there, 45.4 points per game compared to, again, 43, with an over rate of basically 50%. Beyond that, the percent of games that score 50 plus with single digit wind speeds, 37%. So 37% of games with single digit wind speeds go over 50. And those games with double digit wind speeds, 28%. So almost 10 percentage points difference. We see a similar number in terms of games scoring under 40 with single digit wind speeds, 34%. With double-digit wind speeds between 10 and 19, 41% of those games go under 40. So you see this a ton. Now, which games have wins that we should care about this week? All of them aside from the indoor games. Like, I'm not saying that they're all going to end up at 15 plus. Win projections change. There's also a difference between like more sustained wins and wind gusts and stuff, but I'm looking at numbers from a singular number standpoint, and we're not like, if you can predict the gusts and know which games are going to be fine because it's just these teams will throw the ball when there's not gut, then you know more than I do, and that's fine. But I'm bucketing things by, is it a windy game? Is it not? The math is there. Now, is it 50+%, or the percent of games that score 50 plus whenever wins over 10, is that 0? No. Is every game that has single digit wins great? No. It's just you're playing percentages. The problem is it affects every game that's not indoors. And the indoor games this week on the FanDuel main slate are the Cardinals at Colts, which we talked about. One offense we don't love there. The Patriots at the Saints, we've not talked about yet, but not super ideal. And then the Titans and the Raiders, which we talked about a little bit due to injuries, which ain't great. That earned a big grimace emoji from me on the note sheet. So we're at a bit of an impasse here, where if we trust the data, those 3 games should get a little more love than they probably would normally. And all the other games likely a little bit overinflated. That doesn't mean we can't use those players. I'm not going to pick my player pool based on these 6 teams. But it's a massive thing this week. I don't think we're overstating it. If anyone hears the numbers that I laid out and they're like, that's not worth thinking about, that's fine. To me, those little edges matter. So with so much wind, and you probably know more about wind than I do, you use it more than I do even. How are you utilizing this information this week?
Basically what I want to do is I want to let like my totals model kind of like dictate how I handle things, because that accounts for wind pretty heavily. So let's take the Ravens and Rams game as an example. Currently 15-mile-per-hour winds for that game, which puts my total at 44.44 in that game. If I decrease the wind speeds to 5 miles per hour, that total goes up to 46.22, which would make it the fourth best game on the main slate. As it stands, it's well below that. So basically, I know that my model accounts for wind in a pretty serious way. So if I put in the wind speed for a game and it still grades out pretty well, I'm going to feel good about it. So for this week, there's wind for the Green Bay Cincinnati game. I still have the total pretty high because Joe Flacco will put the ball in harm's way and give the Packers some short fields. That's a big part of it, which is why the spread's high. Total's high for the Cardinals and the Colts. That is with Kyler assumed in right now. When I take him out, that's going to shrink. So that's a concern there. Total is high for Tampa and San Francisco. I'm in line with market, both the spread and the total for that game. That's even with 8-mile-per-hour winds projected right now. So do like that one. And then Carolina Dallas is next up. So like the games we discussed are games I still have the total pretty high in, and after accounting for wind. As far as the indoor games go, I don't hate New Orleans, New England. I've got that total at 44.5, which is below market because it's at 45.5. But like that's pretty high compared to the slate. It's above Baltimore, LA. It's above Jacksonville, Seattle, actually, for me. It's above Miami, LA. It's above the Vegas, Tennessee game, shockingly. It's above Pittsburgh, Cleveland. So it's actually not bad for this slate. Drake May's going to run a bit, not running as much as I'd like. I can go to Stephon Diggs at a pretty good salary. I can bring it back with Chris Olave or Rashid Shaheed. So I could see stacking that game, but like most of the good games this week, I'm still okay with. Specifically okay with Carolina, Dallas, specifically okay with Tampa Bay at San Francisco, despite the win there. But like it is lowering Jacksonville, Seattle. It's lowering Miami, LA, games we might otherwise have some interest in.
Yeah. And like, I don't ever want this to come across as, well, hey, let's ignore it this week. It's all contextual to the slate. And I don't think the answer is loading up on Titans Raiders. Now that could be a really ugly game that ends up like, wow. I mean, we have a couple of those games. I feel like the Raiders are good for one of those a year indoors. Like, that is 70 total points somehow. But I'm not going to be there from a predictability standpoint.
It's my second most total of the week, despite being indoors.
We have to factor that in. I think the biggest thing for me is feeling like this year points are up, overs are hitting at a higher rate than last year was high for overs. The 2 or 3 years before that weren't great. With that, we've seen more points, more fantasy points on these main slates. I'm just wondering if we get a little bit of an abnormal week for what we've seen so far in 2025, where scoring's more okay. And I might want to be a little bit choosier and actually stack single games a little bit more and say, you know what, despite wins, what was that game? Was it Lions Ravens a couple years ago?
Yeah.
That like
where the Ravens dropped 40.
Like wind was like really high and
yeah,
it didn't matter. But I'll take swipes at that. So I think I'm coming full circle on, hey, maybe I just stack in this instance, this is one of the lower, like the probability's down for these games to get to 50, but in this instance, I'm assuming this one is fine and we go from there. So I'm gonna actually stack up these games a little bit heavier.
Yeah. I think we have to, because the opportunity cost is lower because there are so many bad games, which does help.
Yeah.
Robert also did mention play volume as being a thing for Patriots versus Saints. Yeah. I use your adjusted pace numbers in my model, and that is the fastest game of the week based on those. So yeah, I think that does matter. I think that is a factor, and that's part of why I don't mind Drake May, don't mind Stephon Diggs, don't mind Chris Olave. I'm willing to go there. So good shout out, Robert, and I agree with you that that's a fine place to go for this week. Let's talk about the Green Bay Packers, because their implied total for this week could not be higher. Their team total at FanDuel was 29.5. Over was -115 as of yesterday. I was like, oh, I like the over for this game. Maybe I'll take the Packers team total over instead. It's like, oh, 29.5. Cool. I guess we're going full game instead. So let's talk about them, because it's a good setup for them. But as we know, they refuse to give anyone outside of Josh Jacobs really good usage. They're at that home, coming off a bye, facing the Bengals' really bad defense. So I wanted to dig in and kind of see what we could find as far as the Packers go. The offense runs through Josh Jacobs. Volume this year has been very good, averaging 20 carries and 3.5 targets per game. Yardage has not always been there, but they've had tough matchups, and they've had a lot of offensive line injuries, which are trending the right way. The numbers look better once you account for the matchups. Bengals rank 8th in EPA per carry allowed to running backs and success rate allowed to running backs. I can get behind Jacobs at 87, even though I prefer backs and tighter scripts. I still think that he is fine for this week. As for the pass catchers, Christian Watson is back at practice. I'm not expecting him to play. So we can look at the 3 games without Jaden Reed. And in those, nobody has more than a 19% target share. I don't think they're allowed to have a 20% target share on this team. Tucker Kraft leads at 18%, followed by Romeo Doubs at 17%. Tentavian Wicks is at 16%, with Matthew Golden at 14%, which also does trail Josh Jacobs in that time. Golden does lead in deep targets, which frankly is annoying, because I prefer them to have a guy who gets both regular work and deep work. That does not happen. None of these guys have had more than 2 deep targets in a game since Jaden Reed's injury. Dobbs and Kraft also lead in red zone targets at 29%. Kraft's salary is not low at 67. I prefer Tyler Warren in that range. I at least can see the case given the team total for Tucker Kraft and the fact that he's a very good football player. Like, I could see that. Dobbs is 62. He should be like 55. If you're 55, I'd be like, yeah, man, I'll use Romeo Doubs. He can score twice. 62 is up there. I know that sounds nitpicky, but it's a big difference. Kind of similar for Jordan Love, whose salary is 83. He doesn't run. Implied total is high. I can see the case because the implied total is so good. But I don't know. It's a great team. It's a great setup. But Jacobs is the only guy I'm actively looking to use here. Any different reads for you on this Packers offense against the Bengals?
I'd say Jordan Love's in the conversation for QB1 in the sense of maybe you take a stand and say, this team coming off of a bye, ready to rock, against the team that clearly doesn't have it figured out, starting a new QB who's just joining. They're going to get short fields. Green Bay is going to score 40 something, have a nice little cool down in the fourth quarter. But to get there, Jordan Love throws for 3 touchdowns and 300. And because of the conditions and the lack of dual threat upside at quarterback, he's like, you can be my QB1, and if my expectations like, hey, you're QB3 because you scored 24 point something and nobody else scored over 30 or 28, like that's fine. This feels like the type of week where a pocket passer could get there, be a top 3 QB without a lot of resistance. He stands out from that perspective of what are the odds that Jordan Love's terrible?
Like
the real path
terribly?
What's
like,
that?
Plays terribly? I think the odds are very, very, very low.
Right. Like, so you would say the word, like, I'm just being like, let's stick with this, but like his worst case outcome here is like 275 and 1.
Yeah.
Because they just run for 3 or 4 touchdowns or something.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably my expectation here. So it's a pretty high baseline.
Sure.
It's still not, I still want more pushback for a pocket passer to be able to throw for that 337 and 3 kind of thing, like he did in overtime against the Cowboys. But yeah, I'm backing up what you said.
Yeah.
I think Jacobs is the number 1 here. Love's probably the second place I'd look. And outside of that, I think the salaries are too high. I do think I'd probably, if I'm playing Love, the first place I'd look though would be Tucker Kraft.
I'd probably go with Jacobs and Kraft and use no receivers if I had Love, and I'm fine with that. I think that's a fine stack personally.
Yeah, I don't know if the yardage upside is there for any particular receiver.
Yeah,
and even if Dobbs catches 2 touchdowns, it's fine, especially because the salary is getting into that mid-range. So, yeah, I wish this was a little bit better.
Yeah,
but that's the Packers for you.
It is indeed. And I do agree with you that Love is, I may have been a bit dismissive of him. I think he's in the discussion for quarterback 3 for me. I'm not sure I'd rank him there, but I think he's in that discussion at least, which is impactful for sure. Yeah. Okay. Let's go now to our salary scroll and break down our thoughts on our top plays, each position on FanDuel for the week 6 NFL DFS main slate. Let's begin things with that quarterback discussion. We, of course, have no Lamar. Justin Herbert, we've not only discussed, given how injured that team is. Jordan Love, 83, Baker, 82, Dak Prescott, 8,000. First question is, do you feel the need to get to one of these top quarterbacks this week? And who are you ranking first now that we've discussed the slate?
Are we including Drake May in this?
No, I want to save him for a separate discussion.
I don't feel the need to because nobody separates enough.
Agreed.
I do think that one of these 4 names at the top is going to have a strong game. But that's different than saying that I'm going to put it out there and say, no, this is the Dak week or this is the Baker. Like, who do I feel safest with would probably be Jordan Love. And I might have the least amount of interest for him in like a tournament setting.
Who's your favorite tournament guy?
I would think probably Baker.
Yeah. I think it's Baker 1, Dak 2, but they're both very close.
So no real kind of lowest there on Herbert.
Yeah. The offensive line injuries stink. It's a great matchup. Great setup for him. It's just the offensive line injuries stink so much.
Yeah, I mean, he could throw 50 times.
Sure. Yeah, he could. Man, they're so banged up. It's bad. Yeah. I'm going to rank him last. I'd prefer Love over him. Maybe that's stupid against a team that is depending where the fact that Storm Duck is hurt matters. Like that's like the fact that matters to the Dolphins is a concern. But it's just, they're so beat up. It's tough. So I'll go Baker 1, Dak 2. I mentioned that Jordan Love is in the discussion for quarterback 3 for me. The guy I had in mind as being my like leader in the clubhouse for quarterback 3 is in fact Drake May at $7,800. I'm a little bit worried that he just catches a lot of steam this week, given that everyone's talking about Drake May. People are like, oh, is Drake May in the MVP discussion? He's earned that. Like, he's played really well. And I do like the setup. I don't really have any concerns outside of like in potentially roster rate. So I think May will probably be my QB3. What about for you? How are you feeling about him in the 7,000 range?
So to clarify, who's your QB 1 and 2 in order?
Baker and Dak, I think.
Okay. I can't go so far as to say that May is above them.
Yeah.
Because it's a little like it's really strong, but it's not elite, and the salary's up. I would say he's QB3 right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be surprised if he doesn't do a lot in this game.
Yeah.
Because of everything that sets up here. He's got a stack candidate finally. A guy with 40+% target share and 2 straight, and Stephon Diggs, who's kind of turning back the clock a little bit. May stands out to me in the 7K range, but he is at the very top of it, so it's a little bit of a. But that's the thing is, if you nope, not Derrick Henry.
We avoided calamity there.
I think if you look at the workload for Stephon Diggs and the output, the salary should be 65.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Actually, workload the last 2 weeks and output
he should be like
7 something. Again,
Correct.
40+% target share and 2 straight. So that's the I think the real key here is like you can just say, I'll spend a little bit too much to roster Drake May because I'm getting his number 1 receiver indoors.
Yeah.
Who's potentially, if his workload were to stick, he'd be like 1,000 at least under salaried. I'm not saying it will.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing. And then you have other options here to branch off with Hunter Henry and Chris Olave. So
it stacks pretty easy, which is nice, which is a good appeal for May. Cause like if you go with a Drake May, Diggs plus Henry plus either Olave or Shaheed, like you've got a lot of money to play with, which is enticing. So that's a big part of why I like Drake May QB3 potentially. Again, between him and Love. Rest of 7K range, nobody really stands out to me. Honestly, and nobody in the 6K range does. So like, I think I'd love to have a world where May is the lowest salary guy that I use. I am not crossing off Daniel Jones, receptive to Sam Darnold, but like there's no one here I'm like itching to use. What about for you below May?
Yeah, I think the lack of pushback and the win for Stafford takes him out enough.
I agree.
Jones, likely lack of pushback. I think he would run if needed.
Yeah,
a little bit.
He just hasn't needed to, except blowing everybody out.
For the most part, yeah. So I don't think it's going to be there this week. I'm not playing Mac, even though I asked you about it. I just don't think I'd get there. Darnold's interesting. It depends on what you think about this Jaguars defense. Got a big EPA boosting pick 6 against Mahomes. Short week though. I know Seattle's got a massive travel disadvantage in this spot, going pretty much point to point across the country. Darnold does really good right now. And if memory serves, like Mahomes was really good success rate wise.
Like 62%.
It was like over 60, and Darnold's like great by success rate right now.
You can get EPA per play too. Like he's just playing good football. Yeah.
But he's at 59% success rate in term from next gen stats. Like it could just be consistent, just moving the chains here.
Yeah.
So he's interesting.
Yeah. No one down here I'm like actively looking at though, personally. Any love for you for Lawrence, Spencer Rattler, anyone like that, or no?
Like Rattler is better than people think probably, but I don't know if he has enough of a ceiling to get there. He's due for touchdown regression, but probably not. I guess I'd go Lawrence over Rattler.
Yeah.
In hopes of hey man, this is a battle between two teams trying to claim that they're contenders, and Trevor Lawrence just takes off and runs 8 times for 60 and a score and is okay passing. Maybe they wake up a little bit. Yeah. Other than that, I'm not getting anywhere else down here, I don't think.
I agree. So at quarterback, I have no loves. I have a strong like for Baker and Dak. And then I like Drake May and Jordan Love. I think that's the way I'd tier things out. What about for you?
I think it's like the exact same. I might be
Yeah.
a smidge higher on May,
Okay.
but
I would rather put May in the Baker and Dak tier
then Love.
than Love. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, cool. Let's go to running back then. We have JT at 10-2, Christian McCaffrey 95. Let's lump in Josh Jacobs as well at 87. We have 3 stud running backs with high salaries, but also like they're high for a reason. How are you feeling about these 3 guys, and what is the like prioritization level on them?
I'd say pretty high.
Do you want to have at least one in each lineup? Because I think I do.
I'm close, but we're going to talk about some other names that I think are reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if anybody's got the true. Like, I don't really consider Josh Jacobs like a 3-down back, but
no,
the true like. I think he can lose enough work in a game that they might not have to just run him into the ground.
Right.
But they do elevate and just kind of there is a line of demarcation. I think it's a little bit blurrier now that Kyron's playing better, and like Devon Achane should be getting a lot more work as a rusher, but I think he's just going to keep catching the ball, and that offense was underwhelming to me last week. So, do I want one in every lineup? Probably. Do I think it's reasonable to get to? Yeah. Do I think I'm going to try to force JT and McCaffrey together? I don't know if I have that much salary to work with. I don't know if I love enough value anywhere else to get there.
Yeah, I agree where I don't need to have 2, but I would like to have 1. As far as Jacobs goes, like the yardage is always the reason I've been lower on him than consensus, but I just think the touchdown upside here is disgusting. Mm-hmm. I have my anytime touchdown model now, and I've been running it for the first 5 weeks this year. So a small sample, but he has the second highest touchdown projection I've had. And so like, I think his odds of 3 touchdowns is like non-negligible, which is enticing. So that's why I like him. I still think I'd prefer McCaffrey. Like I think I'd rank these guys McCaffrey 1, JT 2, Jacobs 3, but I want to make sure I have decent exposure to all of them personally.
Okay. I'm going to put a pin in this because I want to look up something and try to confirm it. But the touchdown equity conversation for Jacobs, I think, is very correct. So,
yeah.
Okay. So he's plus 230 to score twice. He's minus 240 to score.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Anytime. So as of what's posted now,
I have fair at minus 280 on him, by the way, to score. So
he's like as likely to score as like Rashid Shaheed. He's about as likely to score twice as Dontavian Wicks is to score once.
Yeah. Pretty sick. So yeah, I do like that. But McCaffrey also, again, we talk about he's due for touchdown regression, so that matters as well. Just the matchup is a little bit. So I'm going to rank McCaffrey first, but I don't think he's first with a bullet because the rushing yardage upside is lower against this defense.
Yeah, so I might, if I'm plugging in one, I might go Jacobs.
Okay, fair enough. I won't push back on that too much. I think they're all in the same tier, personally. Let's go down to the range below them. We got Ashton Genty 8,000, Devon Achane 81, Kyron Williams 84. I don't dislike anybody in this range. I'm usually not a Kyron guy, but like I know he lost the fumble last week, but so did Blake Corum, and they decided Corum will never see the field again after that. And it's a good matchup, windy, so maybe they decide to keep it on the ground a bit more. There's a chance I have no Kyron, but I do want to mention that I'm at least receptive. Achane's yardage upside has been weird. 87 yards in scrimmage per game this year, which is a 30% red zone share. But the Chargers have been gettable on the ground as far as 81. And then Genty at home favored against a defense that struggled against the run this year. He started to show some yardage upside via explosives. I don't think anybody in this range is a priority. I'm okay with any of them, but I don't know. Am I too low on them?
No, I laughed because I feel like if Achane's got a 30% red zone share, it must be 3 out of 10 plays for the team. Kyron's yardage is just a bit better than it's been. 80, 112, 94, and 131 the last 4 weeks. He had 69 week 1, so he's averaging 97 per game. You mentioned keeping it on the ground a bit more. Coming off of a disappointing loss last week, they should be able to, I don't know, this feels like Kyren scores twice and gets 100 yards from scrimmage. I know, I understand being low on the pure upside of it all in terms of is he getting you 203 touchdowns, but JT might not have to, and I'm not convinced that McCaffrey's offense can get him enough freedom to get it's not like a Bijan game kind of coming. Yeah. So I think that elevates Kyren. I don't think he's that far off of the Josh Jacobs discussion, but I much prefer Jacobs. I just wonder if all of the we're so sick of Kyren, 8,400 being the salary. It's way too high for what he gets you, but he's been better. And I'll put it this way: I'd rather go Kyren than Achane right now.
I don't disagree with that. In fairness to Kyren, he does have more yards per game than Jacobs this year, and his red zone share is comparable. Jacobs 47% red zone share versus Kyren at 40%. So I agree. I still prefer Jacobs, but I understand what you're saying with Kyren as well. Achane, underwhelming. Just the offense stinks, and they can't run the ball. So I might rank Janty first of these guys. I think I'm higher on him than you. I think I'm lower on Kyren than you, but I do think that Genty's interesting. Getting down further, Javonte in the entire 7,000 range. Javonte is the only guy at 78 who I'm yeah, let's use Javonte. I'm okay with Quinshon Judkins. I can't get higher than that just because the travel spot is so bad for the Browns we discussed earlier on, and the Steelers defense has still been good enough. His role is good and he's an amazing football player, but just the spot is pretty bad. So Javonte's the only guy in the 7,000 range I'm itching to use, and I'm okay with Judkins. How are you feeling about this range?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I guess we got Michael Carter and Javonte relevant same week, so shout out UNC. I can't believe Derrick Henry's just not even remotely considerable at this point.
Maybe let's not bring up UNC given the Amari and Hampton situation. Yeah. Very rude. Just got to shove it in my face again.
ETN's role's been pretty good, but I don't like this rushing matchup for him.
They're really good against the run.
Judkins, do you just say, you know what? He's going to get 100 and a touchdown?
If the Browns get 300 yards, he's going to have 160.
Basically. So I know Pittsburgh should try to scheme but I feel what they're going to do, especially with the keep Anthony Richardson in the game kind of comments, they're going to just be look, let's give Gabriel something and just walk out of here with a win.
Yeah.
So Judkins might have a little bit of he's picking up 6 yards a carry. They're going to give him 25 carries. Yeah. He gets there on volume.
Yeah.
I think it's appealing despite the low implied team total.
The salary is low enough where it's a very fair discussion. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. He's he's a solid option in this tier, but no one really a priority outside of I do like Javonte. Scrolling down, we have Rachaad White at 68 and then Rico Dowdle 66. I think if we get no Bucky and no Chuba Hubbard, they're the RB1 and RB2 on the slate, in my eyes. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, both at home. Can't really argue the workloads or the salaries, so that changes things. Then you have one flex spot to play a third running back. Then you probably, if you're saving salary with these two, you're probably getting up to CMC or Jacobs. Still, maybe not even JT, depending on what else is there or what stack you're running. But yeah, I think we can kind of just say these are the 1-2 with the right injury news, and you don't really complicate it too much.
Yep. Rachaad White, 81% snap rate last week, 14 carries, 4 targets. Rico Dowdle, 68% snap rate, 23 carries, 4 targets. Importantly, revenge game. And the Cowboys are not good against the run. So they'd be my RB1 and RB2. Prefer probably Rico over Rashad White just due to matchup, but would happily have both.
Yeah.
I did not take notes on any player with a salary lower than them. Like there are guys you could consider. Like you could consider Jalen Ward, you could consider Michael Carter, you could consider one of the New England backs. Maybe you want to go with the Hassan Haskins or Kimani Vidal. Personally, I really don't. I think it drops off a lot after Rico Dowdle. Anyone down here below Dowdle, you're liking this week?
I agree. I capped it here.
Okay.
I don't think you have to force it. There's enough running back plays to want to get up to him.
Okay. So our loves are Rashad White and Rico Dowdle. If we assume there's a no, Chuba and Bucky. Any other loves for you? And then who are your likes?
Other loves would still be. I got Jacobs and McCaffrey really close.
Yeah.
But no, those would be my two loves. I'll take whomever out of the top three, and probably highest on. I still like. I guess I'm higher on Kyron than you are. But I'm probably more likely to play Javonte at salary.
Okay,
so he might be like my. If you go Rashad and Rico, then that first tier of three, Javonte's probably next up for me on that list.
Okay, yeah. So Javonte above Genty, Achane, and Kyron?
I think so at salary.
I'd agree with that too. So I'm on board with that. Seems like we're pretty lockstep on RB. I'd rank McCaffrey a smidge over Jacobs among the high salary guys, but zero conviction in that. I think they're both really good plays. At wide receiver, Puka at 98. It's a tough setup just because the salary is very high. The wind is high. They have the trip to London coming up. I feel like there are enough factors where I don't really want to get there. And then we have JSN at $9,000, Jamar Chase 88. Thoughts for you on the stud range at receiver?
Are you saying don't want to get there as a primary or just fade it and hope he's okay?
Fade it and hope he's okay.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, 117 yards per game as a receiver, 35% target share. Everything's great. 40% target per route rate. That's crazy. The lack of red zone stuff. I know he scored 2 straight through the air, but the red zone role is still a little bit of a concern long term. So I'm probably with you. I know we kind of did this dance before where it was like Puka versus the top end running backs. This week, I think it's clear. If I got 98, I'm going CMC over Puka.
What about Jackson Smith and Jigba and Jamar Chase versus, let's say, Josh Jacobs 87? How do you feel about the receivers compared to Jacobs?
So JSN's really interesting with how good he's been. Like,
Correct.
Yeah, the workload's been there, but he's been so efficient. I believe he's actually surpassed Puka in terms of yards per route run. I think
it's like 4.1 or something. It's or 4.2. It's sick.
Yeah. Boy, that's fun. But again, you give me JSN versus Jacobs. So Jacobs at home against the team that they should steamroll. And then JSN going across the country against the team. Yeah, on a short week, but maybe, and I'm a little bit down on the defense overall, but like it's a, slam dunk spot. I'm going Josh Jacobs over Jackson Smith and Jigba here.
And then with Jamar Chase, he would be like a bring back option for Jordan Love or Josh Jacobs lineups. I think that's kind of the role he's in. It's like, yeah, maybe this game shoots out and like he'd be involved if that happened. But like, I don't think he goes beyond that for me at least.
Yep. Tournament only differentiation for Chase.
Okay. Scrolling down, got a Neka Ibuka 81, Devontae 78, George Pickens 75. Let's include Brian Thomas and Quentin Johnston as well. So Ibuka 81 through Quentin Johnston 73. What are you seeing in this range?
Like Ibuka, he stacks well for like McCaffrey lineups, stacks well with Baker, of course. But I might be most likely to play Pickens.
Yeah, me too.
I think they'll find creative ways to get him the ball, high leverage ways to get him the ball. I know wind is a potential concern, but again, it's a concern everywhere.
Correct.
And he and Ferguson are the guys. Even with Quentin Johnston, he's got two other viable options to sort of take away some leverage there. So I think Pickens probably the standout here, right?
I think he's a love for me.
I think he is too.
Like in 3 games with no Lamb, 22% target share is not amazing, but again, had that game where they kind of said, hey, you're getting sauce, so we're going to scheme targets elsewhere. 39% deep target share and 28% in the red zone in a game that I do like, despite the wind. Like, that's pretty sweet. So I think Pickens is a love for me. I think that Ibuka is a really strong game stack player. And if I have 81, yeah, I'm happy to put him in there too. So I'm going to go Pickens 1, Ibuka 2. Quentin Johnston, the matchup really good for him. Didn't practice on a Wednesday, so it depends on his health, but 23% target share this year with a 44% deep target share and 25% in the red zone. He's been earning targets against Pat Surtain II. If he can do that, he can earn targets against whatever the Dolphins put out there at cornerback. So I'm willing to buy into QJ, willing to use him again this week. I know I wasn't into Herbert, but that does not translate to his pass catchers. I will definitely be there on them this week. So Pickens 1, Ibuka 2, QJ 3 for me in this range. DK Metcalf leads out the next year at 72. Marvin Harrison Jr. 69. Not talking about any Ravens. We have Jalen Waddle 67 and Ted McMillan 66. I don't think there are any priorities in this range for me. What are you seeing around here? I like Waddle, but no priorities.
So Waddle's interesting. We talked about this, I guess, covering the spread last week, honestly, specifically.
Yeah, I think so.
Does he get used more like an elite receiver? And he did. Yeah. Last week without Tyreek Hill, 110 receiving yards in the score, as we can see here from what Jim has pulled up. But 29% red zone share, 57% of the air yards, a third of the money targets, and 3.7 yards per route run, with that target per route rate of 30%, which is, going to an elite level. I do think that he probably deserves a little more attention than I'm going to give him based on that workload and his talent. So he might be someone I have a little bit of FOMO with, but don't end up getting there Sunday morning. But there's a lot to like for Waddle. I think it's a clear role change. It should be different. I'm probably still not going to get there as much as I want to.
If I wind up at 67 left in a cash game lineup, I'm going to put him in. I'm not going to reconfigure things. I'll feel good about that. I don't mind it for tournaments either, but I don't think he's a priority. So I think we're pretty much on the same page with him. Scrolling down further, if Pearsall plays, I'd be very intrigued at 65. I just don't think he will based on the mispractice on Wednesday. Ladd McConkey, 64. Keenan Allen, 63. Then Romeo Doubs, 62. Pittman, 62. Let's stop there. So Pearsall, 65 through the guys, 62. I do like both the Chargers guys, Ladd McConkey and Keenan Allen. I think they're fully in play. Dobbs, think the salary is too high. Pittman, think the salary is a little bit too high. I don't know. Where are you on this range?
So we're going to talk about this range, but I want to go back up briefly after. So just put a pin in that.
Okay.
Because I think people would be curious. So on this tier, Pearsall, if he plays,
let's just go back up first. Let's go back up. What do you want to talk about there?
Tedero and McMillan. And again, we talked about a lot. We talked in generalities of not loving the Panthers offense as a whole outside of Rico. To me, it's a matter of I don't want to say it's you got to show me something, but in games with Xavier Legette, it's been fine for McMillan, a 24% target share, but the red zone role, you would think this guy'd be a go-to target in the red zone. It's not great. It's 20%. It's fine. 17% of the money targets, they're using Hunter Renfrow more in close. It's a bummer. He's at 25% of the targets on a per route basis. So he's midway between, he's getting close to that elite number. Are we underselling? He's a big touchdown regression candidate still. Are we overlooking this too much? Was it too easy of a gloss over?
Maybe. Because he had like, we talked about the building blocks for upside.
Right.
He has that because like there has been some yardage there. There's enough volume. It's a good game. Good matchup. So I think the building blocks for upside are there, even though he hasn't really done it yet.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I just prefer Waddle. Like
I prefer Waddle.
Yeah.
But like
if you give me 10 DAC lineups, I would have Rico in 8 out of 10 for a bring back. I'd be okay filtering in Tet for like 3 of those, I guess,
It just feels low for what his role kind of is.
Sure. Maybe I should be higher. Yeah. It's a fair question. Okay.
I just wanted to shout him out.
Yeah, it's a good question.
We get into this tier and it's a little bit like, well, you got to sell yourself a little on. There's 3 mouths to feed for the Chargers unless, we get some injury news there. Dobbs, there's 1,000 mouths to feed. Pittman, I don't know if there's any upside. He keeps scoring and scoring 12 points. Like, I'm not going to get there. So I might prefer McMillan to these names.
Okay.
It seems like you're not there though.
I think it's fair. I don't know. I do like the Chargers guys. Like Ladd scored last week, looked better. Still just 19% target share this year. And then Keenan, 25% target share with a 50% red zone target share. So they stack well with Waddle, which is intriguing. Tet stacks well with like Pickens, which is nice. Maybe I should be higher on Tet compared to Ladd and Keenan.
I just feel like the yardage upside is better for McMillan.
Sure.
The scoring equity probably levels out a little bit. I have McMillan as the second largest touchdown regression candidate behind McCaffrey.
Okay.
He's at 2.4 expected scores and hasn't scored yet. So
okay.
When we get like, we love Pickens, I might just run it back with McMillan a bit. But like it's an easy conversation just to do the Chargers plus Waddle instead.
Yeah.
But I also think the salary increasing despite the lack of touchdowns for McMillan is probably enough to get people not to really look his way.
That's probably why I didn't do it. That's so the thing. Yeah, fair shout.
It's perfect. Like, salary's up, hasn't done enough, but the building blocks are there, like you said.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. Let's scroll down to 61. We got T. Higgins there at 61.
Do we do it?
I'll do it at times. I prefer Stephon Diggs 59. Prefer Olave 59. I'd probably go Tet over Rashid Shaheed in a vacuum. So like, I like this range overall. I like T. I like Diggs. Diggs might be a love. I like Olave and I like Shaheed. So it's a good range, but I still think T's at least in play there.
Yeah, I think I also have Olave and Diggs as loves.
Yeah. Cool.
Shaheed's close.
Yeah.
But T, like an easy justifiable bring back if you think there's any amount of pushback from this side. T. Higgins probably they got to walk away from this with like a 55 bare minimum target share split between T. Higgins and
45% for Chase and 10 for T. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's I don't know. Who's he feel like? Well,
oh boy, I don't even know.
It's a really hard comp.
Yeah,
but
because it's such a bad offense.
It's a bad offense. There could be half as many sacks as completions. Like it's like a 7 sack, 14 completion kind of game.
Yeah.
So
on 40 attempts. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'd rather probably go. But I'd rather go Diggs.
Yeah.
I'd rather go Olave than T.
The thing I like about Diggs and Olave is it's such an easy stack for a low salary in an indoor game. And both those guys are getting really good usage right now. So we talked before about like Jordan Love. If I use Jordan Love at quarterback, I'd want to go Jacobs and craft my stacking partners with him. That leaves me a lot of receiver equity I can use. So I can go with a Diggs Olave stack. I can put T or Jamar Chase in there too. But like I can get 3 game stacks in a lineup if I have Jordan Love with Kraft and Jacobs because he's burning no receiver slots. So like I'm going to have options to go with like a Diggs Olave stack and options to go with like a Waddle with QJ or Keenan or Ladd stack. I can go with Pickens plus Tet as well. So maybe that's an endorsement of the Jordan Love lineup. Is it allows me to get these Diggs Olave stacks in there quite a bit.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Okay, so you mentioned Diggs and Olave as being guys that are like down here. Any other 5,000 range receivers standing out to you?
Probably not until Chris Godwin.
Same. Chris Godwin's the only other
54.
guy I had notes on.
A lot of good underlying usage.
Yeah.
If you think this game's good, it's good. I'm not expecting Travis Hunter's role to change enough.
Yeah.
I think it's just Godwin. And Godwin I can't even say is a like priority cash game plug-in. I'd rather go Diggs and Olave.
Correct. Agree with you there. And it's possible Godwin's cooked, but I'm not going to give up on him yet. Not based on a two game sample there. So Love's at receiver. You mentioned both Olave and Diggs, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Who do you have
Pickens.
beyond that?
I'd say Pickens, Diggs, Olave. Probably it should be Waddle, honestly, for how good the role is. And the salary, I think, is still viable. I wonder if I should just put Tedero and McMillan in there too.
Maybe. I think that he and Waddle are likes. I think that Diggs and Olave are the loves. And I would probably put Pickens in there too. So I think we're, again, in lockstep at receiver as well.
Okay.
Tight end, I want Tyler Warren at 68. I just, again, it's a bit. But like red zone rush attempts for a freaking tight end who is not named Taysom Hill, like, my gosh. Like, I want that in my life at all times. 68's high, but like I think it should be higher personally. So Warren's my wide receiver 1. I don't mind Ferguson. I don't mind Kraft. I don't mind McBride, but like to me, Warren's the priority. What's your the upper range of tight end?
Yeah, and it's not just like the gimmick stuff. Again, he leads all tight ends in yards per game. It's 61.4. It's nothing outrageous, but the offensive expectations here are still really good. So that's a big part of it. Ferguson for stacks is very lively. Kraft for stacks, but if I'm going cash games, it's going to be Warren, even over McBride for the savings.
Agreed.
I think the question is, I think it was Robert who was the one who asked, like McBride, do you make sure you get there if Kyler plays? Does it even matter?
If Kyler plays, I will have some. If like, okay, let's say I've got 66 left. I love my lineup and I can't get back to Warren. I'll settle for McBride if Kyler plays. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'd be okay there.
Yep. Agreed.
But not if Kyler's out.
Yep.
Do you think Darren Waller continues to like produce and then get ignored? What do you think?
I think he continues to produce just because like who else?
Right.
Like they don't trust Malik Washington to like get downfield targets. Achane can only do so much. Nick Westbrook-Akine is doing some solid cardio out there. Like, who else would it be? I don't know if I want to use him at 6,000 personally, but like I get it.
Would you use him in those lineups where you're using like Ladd or Keenan? I
probably should consider it.
I think like that. I think to use Darren Waller, you have to have a stack.
Yeah,
that's got to be like one of your Justin Herbert lineups. You say, well, Darren Waller scored twice.
Yeah.
To make Justin Herbert scramble 14 times because they can't run the ball and they're just going to drop back 60 times. So well, again, these two teams, they might run 60 total plays, but
correct. Yes.
That is a concern.
I think though my other top priority, I mentioned this before, my other guy I love besides Warren is Hunter Henry. I'm going to read you his target shares this year. And just like 19% target share is good. That's good for a tight end. You know, we like that. We'll take that for sure. For $1,500 in a game that's like pretty solid, 19% target share is good. But he has a 25% deep target share. That is a very good number for a tight end, especially for a guy who I didn't think had that in him really anymore, but apparently he does. So 25% deep target share is good. A 37% red zone target share is great. I think the Patriots will score points here. So I think to me, he is either tight end 1 or tight end 2. I love Tyler Warren, but because the salary is so much lower here at $900 lower, I wanted to put Henry at least in that tier with Tyler Warren. How do you feel about Henry this week?
Yeah, and I like Drake May, so
Oh.
I'm gonna be overexposed to Hunter Henry, which I'm fine with. I think you can do a lot worse. There's still some yardage juice, especially because they're coming from downfield targets too. This could be just like this was my base game. I just ended up on this game more than any other.
Yeah.
I play a lot of Drake May, and then you kind of loop in the other mini stacks. But I think that makes a lot of sense for Henry at 59.
Okay. Any other tight ends who are catching your eye below Henry this week?
I don't think I'm chasing the AJ Barner stuff.
No, Elijah Arroyo had like a really good red zone roll the game before, so they're kind of back and forth.
What's Jawan doing lately?
He's still banged up, I think. And now we have Taysom and Foster Moreau to deal with. Any Taysom for you at 5,000? He had 6 rush attempts this past week.
It's wild. Probably not.
He ran only 1 route, which is disappointing. So
yeah, I don't think he's fully back yet.
I agree.
So I think we're gonna have to allocate some salary to tight end.
I would like to stay at Henry or higher personally.
Yeah, nobody else even rates out.
Yeah.
Like, would you consider, I guess, like the Hunter Long route of just hunting? Yeah, I mean,
I had a RIP, a 2 tight end dynasty league where I took Hunter Long like higher than I should have back when he got drafted by the Dolphins. Can't. Too much scar tissue there. Can't do it.
Okay. Yeah, I think you saved something because there are, let me see here. A lot of the yardage leaders are on the board. Tyler Warren, Tucker Kraft, Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, Jake Ferguson. So other than Kincaid, the top 6 in yardage are on the board.
Yeah.
So I think you need a little bit of something.
Yep. I agree with that too. So my loves are Warren and Henry, undecided on who is 1, who is 2, but those are the 2 guys. I like McBride, Ferguson, and Kraft, but they're a tier below. Same for you?
Yeah, I think we're just at the same thing for every position so far.
I'll take it. Given how much we argued to line up on the same guys, I think that's pretty fun.
I guess.
Defense. Scrolling to the bottom. Would you consider the Dolphins, given all the injuries to the Chargers? Their salary is minimum. There is some wind here. I don't want to, but I'm not going to say no flat out. Like, if there's a lineup I love and getting down to the Dolphins, like, lets me get some dudes, I'm not saying no. I think they'll lose. And I think they're a bad defense, but I'm not saying no.
Yeah, I don't know. Their adjusted pressure rate numbers aren't great, but they still probably are going to get to Herbert a bit. But Herbert could also just extend and make a little bit there. And if you get a defense that scores like -1, you're toast. I think there's a little bit too much of that risk. So I probably wouldn't. How far up do we have to go to find someone who's better, though, is the question. And that's where things get a little sticky.
Yeah, scrolling up, there's not a lot to love.
Right. Did you Cleveland?
No. Maybe I should. Good defense. I just I'm worried about like the spot is sticking in my head of
I get that, but
yeah. I do think the Max Crosby against the Titans is fun. JC Latham has missed the past 4 games for the Titans. They didn't put him on IR. It's maddening because I keep projecting Latham is playing every week, and then he gets ruled out on Friday. I'm like, come on, what are we doing? Like, why didn't you just put him on IR? Like, make my life easier. And they refuse to do so because they are a terrible organization. So I'm annoyed at the Titans, and therefore would use the Raiders for sure. They're the first team I feel good about, is what I would say.
I agree that was the team that came to mind. I'd probably rather get.
Bucks are home favorites. Niners are banged up. I like the Niners, but would you use them or no?
Probably not.
Okay.
And make sure I got up to.
Cowboys defense stinks. Would you consider them?
No.
Okay. Any Titans defense against Geno, considering all the picks he keeps throwing?
Possibly, yeah. I think like the Raiders and Titans are where we get kind of interesting.
And then the Colts. That's where it picks back up. Especially if there's no Kyler. Like that's pretty fun. So I would say Colts are a highlight. Raiders are a highlight. And I'm receptive.
It's okay if you like the Dolphins enough to shout them out, but
I'm receptive to the Dolphins. They're not a love, but I'm receptive to in the event of emergency.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do it. I don't know if I can live with myself for betting against Justin Herbert.
I mean, I literally bet against him this week. So
I mean, betting against in terms of like, is he going to throw a pick six?
Yeah.
You might get there from sacks, and sacks and picks are where you get most of your defensive points, but
I will hate myself for it, but I will probably, I've hated myself for much less. So
I hear that.
Any final thoughts for you on this week 6 main slate?
I really say track the wind, see what the projections are. If wind dies down in certain games, everything changes to me because I laid out the numbers. I think it's important. But if wind picks up in a lot of these spots, then I will probably be building around Drake May a little bit more than I anticipated, which I'm fine with anyways, borderline. But
I agree. I think that's the right way to play things for this week. That is all that we have here on the Heat Check. I almost said covering the spread. It is a Heat Check. That is all that we have here on the Heat Check for today. But speaking of covering the spread, you can find that on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. I'm going to talk to Minty Bets later on today. Get her thoughts on the Week 6 NFL slate, talking some betting there. We already had Dr. Ed Feng on Wednesday to talk about Week 7 in college football. Riley Thomas tomorrow talking NFL props. All right here on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. Subscribe there. Leave us a thumbs up. We appreciate those of you watching YouTube. Check us on the FanDuel Research podcast feed as well. Brandon, people have questions for you on social media. Where can they find you there?
On X at Gdula13, GDULA13, and on Blue Sky at Gdula.
And I'm on X and Blue Sky at JimSannes and on Threads at Jim.Sannes. You can find FanDuel Research on X at FanDuel Research. Big thank you to our YouTube producer, Justin Lane, for his work on the video side of things. Thank you, Justin, as always. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck to you with your lineups. Week 6 in NFL DFS. We'll talk to you once again next week. This has been the Heat Check, a FanDuel Research podcast.